Martine Kalaw spoke there, and from what from all of the reviews, it was incredibly empowering and important. And she's in studio right now, heading back to Washington. Right? That's correct. This is your last stop before you head out, and your story is one that is quite amazing. But it tells a different side of the immigration story. That's right. That I think we're hearing today. And you were really a young lady without 11, 12 years old, without a country, right?
That's correct. I was actually 15 years old, and I was orphaned as well, and I was without a country.
Wow. Mm-hmm. So I can't imagine what that was. I mean, just the losing your parents alone had to be just horrible. Mm-hmm. So there you are with what? Nothing. What did you do?
So my story is really about the kindness that exists in America, right? So we hear about, within the context of immigration, we don't hear about all of the great people in America who extend an olive branch to individuals like myself. And there are quite a number of them out there. Yeah. So when I was after my mother and my stepfather died, I was tossed around from home to home between relatives.
Natural
dealing
father?
With, on my mother's side.
Okay.
There was a lot of abuse that I was dealing with. Mm. And so that's when a series of fortunate happenstances occurred. Starting with one stranger who decided to get me out of my situation, and then another one who decided that he and his wife would pay my way through boarding school.
Were you living in poverty? Were you living middle class? What was your situation?
I was middle class up until my mother and my stepfather passed away. Yeah. And then I was on my own. Well, actually, let me just clarify and say, when my mother and stepfather were alive, middle class. After my stepfather died, my mother and I were poor. Okay. We moved from Silver Spring, Maryland to Columbus, Ohio, and we were just barely making ends meet. And I was my mother's caretaker, so she had cancer. She was incredibly ill, and at 14 years old, I was trying to figure out how I would help her pay the bills. Wow. So that was my reality for quite a number of years, and then it seemed as though things just got worse.
And you thought you were here legally, obviously.
I actually was here legally for a while, for many years of my life. I came when I was 4 years old from Zambia, Africa, and the Democratic Republic of the Congo, respectively. And my mother and I came legally. And the rest of her family was actually in the United States legally. They were U.S. citizens or permanent residents. Okay. Yeah.
But it all went bad after she died.
After she died, things just started to fall apart. First of all, anyone can imagine, if you're 15 and you have lost both parents, literally the rug is pulled from under you. Yeah. You're focusing on surviving. Where am I going to sleep? What am I going to eat? I don't want to end up in foster home, and foster care. All of those things are what you're focused on. So the last thing you consider is, am I legal or not? Right. So that question never came to mind. I grew up in the United States since I was 4. I always identified as being American. Yeah. So it never occurred to me to question my status or lack thereof.
So skipping forward, and there's a lot that we skipped past, because you had some really good people that helped you. Anonymously, so they won't be in your book, but they will be. Their names won't be in the book.
They will be, but their names have been changed. Yes.
So they helped you. You came to Hamilton College in Clinton, New York.
Came to Hamilton, and that's when my immigration situation became worse. I refer to it as my nightmare. That's when it started. Yeah. And it started very innocently with, me looking to confirm and get an updated Social Security card. So what I think another myth that many individuals have is that undocumented immigrants don't have Social Security numbers, don't have Social Security cards, they don't pay taxes, things like that. Those things are myths. The Social Security number that I have right now, currently today as a U.S. citizen, is the same one that I had when I entered the United States in 1985.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
It never changed.
Yeah.
The only difference was then it said non-working. That's what it indicated.
Right, because you were a student.
Right. Or meaning that because I came on a temporary visa, I wasn't allowed or eligible to work in America, in the United States. Now it says working, right? Because I'm a U.S. citizen, I'm a passport holder, and that changes.
You became a U.S. citizen.
I became a U.S. citizen in
Congratulations
2012.
on that.
Thank you very much.
I had a chance to be a part of one of those ceremonies. It's inspiring. It's unbelievable.
It's absolutely inspiring, and it's moving. And what's beautiful about it is that you see all races and creeds in that room, in that space.
And the joy and the happiness of these people,
Yeah.
the excitement and the work that they put through.
That's right.
That they went through to become citizens. Most of them probably know more about our history than we remember from school.
Yeah, those citizenship questions. Really?
Yeah, we don't want to really.
So easy.
I want to, if I can, put this in perspective just a little bit here, and then we'll move forward on the rest in your book and all of that. But Martine, you were at 17, 18 years old. You find out your Social Security number doesn't work. I think we all can feel a little piece of that because we've all been, at some point in our lives, you're at the DMV. And you go and they say, well, we can't give you a license because of A, B, and C. What's the first thing you do? You call your parents.
That's right.
And you didn't have anybody to call.
No, I did have the college, though. That's what yesterday in my conversation at Hamilton College, I emphasize the importance of community and
they helped you.
Yeah, inclusion. I mean, there was a college administrator, a faculty member, a friend, always with me throughout my journey.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't a Hamilton College administrator or faculty member, it was my prep school community that was always behind me. So throughout,
and
I
the prep school. Let's explain that because we didn't really get. It was this attorney and his wife,
a judge, actually, a U.S. judge.
Wow.
And his wife decided, not knowing who I was, but understanding that I had potential, and they felt compelled to pay my way through boarding school.
Wow.
And they wanted to remain anonymous so that they wouldn't get the credit. They didn't want me to feel like I owed them anything.
Wow.
Yeah.
So do you know who they are?
Of course, I had dinner at
their.
I had dinner at their house two months ago.
Okay, so you're obviously very close to them.
I am very close to them,
but they don't want other people because sometimes you do feel when you do something nice,
they don't want.
If everybody finds out, it's not as special anymore.
That's right.
Yeah,
and they've always been sort of in the background, just making sure that I was okay. Them and many others, right? So I feel that I've been really fortunate in that way, but it's really about me building my networks, generating community. And the other thing is these communities saw my potential and they invested in me. It was less about charity and it was more about, you know what, this young woman has something and we want to see it, come to fruition.
And it certainly has for you. You have a book coming out that will be out in November, which is going to tell a little bit about the book. Then we'll break, and then we'll come back and get into. I really want to get into the immigration part, and also there are plenty of people out there that don't. Maybe someone isn't there to look at them and say this person has potential. What happens to those that might not seem to be as bright and as brilliant? I think that's worth addressing a little bit.
Absolutely.
And what do you do today? That's another part of this too, right?
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
a great question. So, what do I do today? I am an author. I blog, and I was blogging for the Huffington Post, and I have my book coming out. I have my own business, so Martine Kalaw Enterprises. So I am a consultant. I offer professional development, training for organizations, tech companies, startups, and I currently support a private aviation company right now.
Wow.
Awesome.
So,
well, the judge saw something in you, and he was right.
Right. He was right.
Yeah.
And they are-
All right. Quickly on the book, explain what the book will get into, and then I really want to get into more of America, where we are right now, and that'll be after the break, though. The book, tell us about the book that's coming out in November, which you can pre-order right now, by the way.
You can pre-order right now on my website at martinekalaw.com. My book is called Illegal Among Us, a stateless woman's quest for citizenship. So it's really, this book is for everyone because it really demystifies the face of the undocumented immigrant.
Yeah.
So the face of, there isn't a face of the undocumented immigrant. That's the whole point I'm trying to make. The face can look like my face. It can sound like me, right? An educated, unassuming young woman who's grown up in America her entire life. That's the face of the undocumented immigrant story, of the undocumented immigrant. And so that's what this story is about. And the other thing that it highlights is that actually it's a human story. When you read my story, you realize that, wow, this young woman sounds like a young, a young woman that could have gone to school with my daughter or my son. This sounds like somebody that I work with, or her circumstances aren't that different from mine.
Right.
The only difference is that she happened to be undocumented.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point of my story, is to connect us on a human level.
All right, we'll talk some more. We're going to break, and we'll come back here. Martine Kalaw spoke at Hamilton College last night, has an amazing story to tell, and we'll get into the American social aspect of where we are politically and everything going on and some of the misnomers and the myths. We'll get into all of it coming up. But also, I'd like to talk about people do have concerns about safety, about rapists coming across the border and about coming in legally. And I'd like to address that with you as well. We'll get into it. Sit tight. We'll come right back here at WIBX.